Hey, welcome back. Shane again. Welcome to Eat Like a Barbarian. Today, we're going to do New England clam chowder and Rhode Island clam cakes. The wife says they're just clam cakes, but I think they're Rhode Island clam cakes. Just know this clam chowder is a hit with her security friends. So let's get this done. All right, so we're going to start this by sauteing the onions, the celery, and garlic. First, we're going to start with 3 pats of butter. Use the best butter you can find. It does make a difference. You know, there'll be people that tell you it doesn't. It really does. So we're gonna use what equals 1 whole onion. Throw it in, get it all nice and sizzling. Gonna end up being 4 stalks of celery. We're just gonna get that going. No. So once you get it all in there, you're gonna let it go until it gets translucent, and we'll be back when that happens. All right, so we're going to add a little bit more butter as well. It's always better with butter. And then with that, we're going to add a little bit of flour. We're going to make a little roux in this with the onions, the peppers, the garlic, and the dill. We're going to just get it going up nice. As you see, you just kind of let it melt together. You're going to let it cook just a little bit. Nothing major. It's going to continue to cook as we now add basically a clam bed full of clams. They're going to end up being something like 48 ounces of clams. No lie, it was so many cans of clams. But it's like a 50-50 of chopped and minced. That way you get a different texture with each bite, but you're going to get the same texture all at the same time. So we're going to let this come back to the boil, and I'll be back to you in a minute. So now we got it, as you see, nice and steamy and hot. We're gonna add, I'm using half and half today. You can use milk, you can use whole cream, you can use whipping cream, you can use anything you want. I like the half and half, I think it gives it a good texture. So I'm gonna use, again, use as much as you want. That's the joy of this. You wanna make a whole bunch, you make it watery, go for it. But I'm gonna end up using, I think it's almost a full half gallon. So we're gonna let this come back to boil. And then we're gonna finish this up and we'll move on to our clam cakes. So since I realized that I just almost completely forgot, well actually the wife realized it, but we're gonna put in some freshly cooked bacon. It's only 4 slices of bacon that I just cubed up real small. We fried it up real fast. Normally I cook it in with the onion and celery. I completely spaced it somehow, don't know how, because it's one of the big things. So we're gonna add this in now and we're gonna continue to let this come together. Hopefully it's gonna start, see it's already starting to get warm, so we're getting there. All right, so now that we've got this coming back to being hot and almost boiling again, we have some diced potatoes that I pre-cooked just so it saves us a little bit of time. We're gonna throw that in there. We're gonna give it a nice little stir. We're gonna add now a little bit more of the dill. Like I said, the wife likes dill in her clam chowder. We're gonna put a pinch or 2 of nice hearty kosher salt, some nice fresh ground pepper. Again, we can always adjust that again towards the end. We're gonna let that come together again. We'll get it all nice and mixed up here. But as you see now, it's gonna be nice and hearty. We're gonna let that come to a complete boil again. Then if need be, I made some more roux just to thicken it up. I like my clam chowder thick, just because, well, that's how it should be. You know, some people go, oh, that's great, just the way it is. No, clam chowder is supposed to be thick, especially in New England. It's supposed to be thick, it's supposed to be hearty, it's supposed to stick to your bones. So we're gonna let this come back to the boil, and then I'm gonna show you how to finish this up, and then we'll get those clam cakes going. So see you in a minute. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna taste it now. That way we can judge if we need to add a little more clam juice, we need to add more salt, we need to add more pepper, and then we're gonna work on thickening it up a bit more, because again, it's really thin for clam chowder, so we're gonna work on that. So we're just gonna taste a little bit. And yeah, we're gonna need to add a little more clam juice. We're gonna add a little more salt because it needs a little salt. Then we're probably gonna add a little more dill, believe it or not, because believe it or not, there's still not enough dill. So I'm gonna add this stuff to it and then I'll be back to you. All right, so like I said, it is really thin, so we're gonna add some more of the roux to it. We're just gonna take it, stir it in. Roux will never thicken to its full power until it comes back to a boil. So I may at some point have to take this and just move it over to the stovetop just to pump up the heat fast, because, well, that way at least I know that it's thick to where I want. I don't want to keep adding and adding and adding because it's not getting thick, because then you'll be stuck with a chowder that's way too thick. That's way harder to thin back out, because once you start thinning it, you change the flavor and you have to readjust it. But once you get this to a boil, it's going to be as thick as it's going to be. And, you know, like I said, New England clam chowders have to be thick. If they're thin, then they're clam soup. Clam chowder should be thick, not thin. All right, so it's getting there thickness-wise, but I'm not quite happy with where it's at. So I had the wife help me build up a nice little cornstarch slurry. We're gonna try to thicken it up a little bit more with that. Again, I'm probably gonna end up moving it over to the stovetop just to get a quicker heat to it, get a better boil going. That way we'll get a better thickness. I'm gonna finish, or I'm gonna try this, and then I'm gonna get back to you. All right, so as you see now, we got this. It's nice, it's creamy, it's definitely way thicker than it was. Of course, the wife, like I said, what'd she tell you? More dill. So I'm gonna put the last of the dill in the chowder. The wife said more dill, it gets more dill. I think it needs a hair bit more salt. So we're gonna hit it with just a little bit more of the nice heavy kosher salt, because, well, I think it's the best way to go with it. I like the rockiness of it a bit. So we're gonna stir this like this just a bit. All right, tap that off. I'm gonna take the cover and put the cover on it. We're gonna let that sit there. And in the meantime, we're gonna go over to the other side of the kitchen and we're gonna get those clam cakes going. So I'll meet you over there. All right, so now we're gonna do Rhode Island clam cakes, more like Iggy clam cakes. The wife, the boys, it's one of their favorite places, Rhode Island. I went once. It wasn't bad, but I think we went way early in the season, or it was good. I love the clams. We did have whole belly clams. It's the only way to go when you do fried clams. But the wife says I talk too much, but I like to explain things. She'll get over it. Probably not. But all right, let's get going on these clam cakes. Know that we have a technical delay. There was a chip in the bowl and it was driving the wife crazy. So she had to go and find another bowl. So we'll be back in a minute once she gets a bowl that doesn't drive her. All right, so we're gonna start the clam cakes. The key to this now is we're gonna mix clams. I think it ended up being like 6 ounces of clams, maybe 12. It's clams, you can't have too many. I'm gonna do about 1/8 of a cup of chopped onions and 2 eggs. And I don't remember how much cream exactly, but I know it was cream. And 1/2 cup of cream. So we're gonna put that in there. We're gonna mix that all together, just to get that all nice and incorporated before we add the dry ingredients. I know you're gonna say the onions were dried ingredients. Yes, the onions were dried ingredients, doesn't count. So now we're gonna do baking powder, pepper, and salt. It looks like we're using the pink Himalayan. Like I said, sometimes it's just better. So we'll throw that in there, we'll mix that up a bit. Again, get that kind of incorporated. Now, it's 1.5 cups of flour. Luckily, my sous chef over here measured it all out, so she knew what it was ahead of time. So I'm gonna add that in a little bit at a time just to get it. It's gonna be almost pancake batter. So a little thicker than pancake, but not as thick as biscuits, because we're gonna literally portion this out into the oil just using an ice cream scoop. Okay, so the wife's over there whispering at me, more like a hush puppy. It is true, it's more like a hush puppy, but either way, it works. So like donuts, you know, some people do the donut holes without making the donuts first. Same concept basically. You just, doesn't need to be thick. It just needs to be, well, it just needs to be good. Like I said, New England, 4th of July in New England, yes, we eat clam chowder and clam cakes on the beach in 100-degree weather. Yes, we really do. So I'm gonna finish mixing this up and I'll meet you over at the stove. Trying to get this oil to between 325 and 350. As of right now, we are at, as I wait for the numbers to jump, say about 285. So it's gonna be a little bit. I'll get back to you as soon as I get close to that. Well, actually, nope, 290. So we're almost there. Talk to you in a minute. All right, so we're gonna take the mixture from earlier with just a nice little ice cream cookie scoop, whatever you wanna call it. I'm gonna scoop it right into the water, right into the oil, not water. Water will not cook this. We're gonna let them cook. They're gonna start floating to the top. We're gonna let them cook until they're nice and brown. And then we will finish this up and I'll show you the finished products. So be back to you in a minute. So as you guys can see now, they're nice floating. They're starting to get a nice color. Actually, these might be coming out of here soon. I don't want them to be too dark, but also we don't want them white. So these are pretty much, I'm just gonna take them out. See, I have a sheet pan here with a nice little grate and some paper towels. Just put it on there, let it drain out. Like that. And we're gonna do that whole process all over again. I think we're gonna end up with like a dozen of these. The joy is you can always freeze them and eat them later. You can keep this in a nice Ziploc and make them whenever you want. It's part of the joy of summertime. Just have some fun with your food. Gonna finish up and we'll see you at the table. All right, so as you see tonight, always a nice beer with your clam chowder, your clam cakes from Iggy's. Like the wife says, Iggy's the best place to get them. I don't know. I'll still leave that up to debate, but people Rhode Island, that's what they think. So for today, here's your clam chowder from New England, clam cakes from New England. And of course, we're all from New England. You need to always remember, has to have oyster crackers. Always have to have oyster crackers for your chowder. You're not New England if you don't. So again, like, subscribe, keep an eye out for the shirts on the way. We have hats on the way. And Mikey, one of these days, you're gonna get your steak on the grill. Again, thanks for tuning in. And remember, always eat like a barbarian.